Good afternoon, parents. Welcome to another one of our parent session. This afternoon, as you quickly join, I would like to let you know that we are streaming live on YouTube as well as on our Zoom session here. So please feel free to tell everyone about our session, pass on the meeting code so that they can join and be a part of our parent session this afternoon. Now, as we get ready for our session, again, I want to mention that we're streaming live on YouTube and here on Zoom. So if they're unable to join on our Zoom, they can join on the YouTube channel. That is the Region 5 Mathematics team YouTube channel. So welcome one and all. As we are about to start, I will do the prayer and we will begin our session on time. Your host for our parent session this afternoon is myself, Miss Keisha Dyer, primary mathematics coach at Region 5. And with me this afternoon is Miss Itania Johnson, cluster based specialist also at the Region 5 office. So parents, I would like you to join me in prayer this afternoon as we get ready to start our session. Let's bow our heads. Dear Father God, thank you for this another day that you have provided for us. Thank you for being a blessing to our lives today, for keeping us in sound mind and body so that we're able to join on to this session this afternoon to gain some knowledge, to gain some wisdom, to gain some understanding as to how to treat with our children and the learning of mathematics. As we join this afternoon, dear God, there are some persons who are not feeling quite well. And I would just like you at this moment to touch them, to be a part of them, to just sit with them this afternoon and give them some additional blessing as we meet together and grow together. In your name I pray, amen. Okay, so welcome once more, parents. For those who are just joining us, welcome to our parent session. And our theme is building competencies, mathematics practice from home. So we're going to be working alongside you this afternoon, parents, to see how we can motivate you and encourage you and give you some additional details as to how you can work with your children at home, reinforcing and building interest in mathematics. So we will begin in another minute or two while others are still joining. Thank you for being here with us.
Good afternoon, parents. My name is Itania Johnson. Thank you, Miss Dyer, for that introduction and prayer. And I just want to add my welcome to all the parents out there on both platforms, YouTube Live and on our Zoom session. It's a pleasure having you, and I look forward to an exciting evening where we can just share with each other as we share some tips as to how to work with our children at home. Now, today's session is really looking at building competency, looking at mathematics practice from home. And in order for us to get into the whole realm and get the ball rolling, we want to just have you relaxed. And so this evening, I want us to participate in that famous game, 4 picks, 1 word. So just to get you all relaxed and to really get you in the mood and the vibe, here we go. So on our screen, there are 4 pictures. And I want you to use the chat and to tell us what these 4 pictures mean. My co-host, Miss Daya, will be manning the chat, so she will be telling us all the persons who have already started typing and sharing. Anything in the chat, Miss Daya?
Miss Weller in the chat, Miss Weller says measurements. I wonder if she's correct. She typed it again.
Okay.
Measurements. So let's see, anybody else want to contribute to the 4 pics? What is depicted? A collection, all pics depicting something, and it has to be mathematical because we're on the mathematics session right now.
Any
All right,
other response?
Not to the question. Miss Allen is not seeing the screen. Miss Allen, could you refresh your page to see if it will come up?
All right, Miss Weller, there are some you have E's in your answer. Maybe you are on the right track. We're just waiting on others, and there is indeed an M.
All right, Miss Akela Mitchell is also saying measurement.
All right, let's see if they're correct. Well done, parents. Indeed, our 4 pictures, 1 word says or suggests measurement. Here we have another one. What do you think? Type quickly in the chat.
One parent, Miss Weller, is saying shapes. Interesting.
Miss Weller, shapes. All right, let me put a clue on the screen. Our answer has 2 E's.
All right, Miss Weller, let's see what you come up with this time. And other parents, feel free to join in. Type in the chat which math word would all these pictures be related to. Miss Alisa Williams Glaive says geometry, and Miss Weller also says geometry. Let's see.
Okay, there's a G. So it seems as if they may be correct.
Very good.
Is indeed the correct answer. Good job. All right, so we have parents becoming relaxed, and we're hearing more and more persons coming in. So let's do one final one. What are these 4 pics saying? What 1 word is being depicted here? All right, nothing yet, Miss?
Nothing in the chat as yet. I think this one have their brain thinking. Let's give them a clue.
So the word begins with S.
Yes. Has to be math related.
Anything yet?
Not yet.
All right, the big reveal. This one is statistics.
Oh, Miss K. Francis said sets.
Oh, Miss Francis, you're missing some letters.
But so, good try.
Good job, parents, and I hope you are now relaxed. And so let us now delve into our session. Now, we're going to be looking at a session or a scenario between a teacher and a parent. And as we look at this scenario, I would like us to just think back to see how many of us would have been in a situation like this and what our reactions would have been. Here's a teacher all excited to see the parent, and so he proceeds to tell the mother, "She's amazing at addition. She told me that 7 + 8 = 15. Sorry. But she only knows that because there are 7 days left this month and then 8 more days until her birthday. Basically, she would not be able to know the answer unless or if it wasn't her birthday. Now, parents, how did this parent feel? Or what is this parent thinking? How many of us as parents fail to realize that conversations about birthdays, about the things that happen around us, actually helps the children or helps your child to learn at home too? And so we can come up with the sentence that whatever conversation we have, whatever any conversation, any discussion, we can gather that children learn at home too. And so our session this seeks to, one, highlight the importance of mathematics to students' development. Two, we're going to look at ways to introduce math or ways in which mathematics can be reinforced at home. And also, we're going to identify ways in which we can build interest in mathematics at home. Now, do you believe that children are born with the inability to do math because of the parent? Type yes or no in the chat. So I'm giving you some time. Giving you some time to acknowledge. Miss Dyer, are you seeing anything in the chat?
Yes, I'm getting some responses. So far, everybody's saying no. Children are not born with the inability to do math. So I'm getting all no's.
All no.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's see. I have a scenario here where Kay is a 4th grader. Her father is a farmer. He has always told Kay that he can't do mathematics. No, Kay is struggling with understanding concepts in math and believes she inherited this from her father. Based on the father's attitude, do you believe Kay's learning has stemmed from her father's attitude? Raise your hand if you would like to share. Do you believe Kay's learning is based on her father's attitude? Anyone?
All right, so I'm getting a few raised hand, Ms. Weller, and I see Mr. Jerome Francis, Ms. Christina. So I'm just gonna ask sir if he could give them permission to be able to unmute themselves in a while. So can we get Ms. Weller, sir, access to unmute?
Good night. Yes, good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Yes, I am in agreement that because of Kate's father's reaction towards mathematics, that kind of demotivates her as a student, as a child, looking up to her father to go into the classroom now and to do mathematics. Probably if the father was like motivating her, even if he cannot do it, and he was able to motivate her, then that would kind of boost her to even go into the classroom and try to do mathematics. But because of the demotivation, she didn't even try to attempt to do mathematics. She just believed that she cannot do it because her father, who probably she looks up to, cannot do mathematics or have a bad attitude towards mathematics.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Good response. I think we can take one more. Miss Christina G. I'm going to ask you to unmute.
Good evening.
Go ahead,
So
Miss Christina. Yes.
the person who just spoke a while ago basically touched all the bases. I agree 100%. It has to do with the parent demotivating the child, whether it be because he is unable to do it and he would verbally pass it on to her, or maybe just his entire approach regarding mathematics. That is definitely going to trigger some child. And instead of having the confidence as she would have going into the class to tackle the challenges, then she naturally just shies away from doing it. In regards to the question asked earlier, I was trying to get a comment in, but I didn't. I I think it's a case where everyone was saying no. It's not a case where some persons are just born with the inability to do mathematics. I believe so, because just as how we can say, for example, oh, this girl just born to do here, or they born for good enough physics. I believe that there are persons who are just naturally born not to grasp the concept of mathematics. It doesn't matter how hard they try, doesn't matter the amount of teachers that may try with them, and how they try, they are just unable to get it. So that's my view on that.
So, Miss Christina, I would like to interject Miss Johnson for a few seconds.
No problem.
Is it that the person is unable to do some level of mathematics, but there are areas in mathematics that the person is good at? For example, simple addition, counting. I'm sure that person can do all those things.
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
But the more advanced areas, they may not have grasped those concepts. Well, if they can count and recognize a number, they are doing math. And that's just the
exactly
framework. That's what you meant.
Yes. Because for me,
yes,
as proper as I probably may sound, I have a challenge, a tragic challenge with mathematics, but my daughter, who is 6, about to be 7, she speaks math like it's nothing. She will
so definitely she didn't inherit it from you. Was it inherited?
I am so happy, because there are days when I'm walking or going to the shop and she would just burst out saying, "Mommy, you know that 7 plus 1 is 8. You know that plus 2 is 8. And I'm like, okay, she's understanding the different numbers that she can put together to make 8. And she just gets up out of the blue and starts having these conversations about maths.
That's good.
She doesn't talk about religious and nothing like she does with maths. So
keep encouraging her.
Yes, thank you.
Yes.
And we're going to even play back further down in the present in our session on Christina. But basically, what we can conclude is that the impact of disposition, as Christina said too, or the attitude, especially in the case study of the father, he was negative. And so because of his negativity, the child K in question believed that she cannot do the subject, ended up having no interest in the subject, and also treats the subject with little respect or little value. And as Christina alluded, or she highlighted one particular word, and the word is attitude. So it means therefore that our attitude, or the attitude that we display, may have some impact on our child or children. Now, parents, as we continue this session, what role does mathematics play in your daily life? And for Christina, she talked about it where she says, I don't think she passes it on to her child. However, I want her to look at the fact that she's able to do math in other areas. So what role comes to mind? We can think of things like time. For example, getting ready for work or getting ready for school. We can look at distance for traveling to work, the amount of fuel that it may take, or the distance one may have to walk to work, because some of us may be able to walk to work, or the children may be able to walk to school. So there is math coming into play when you look at the distance that you have to travel. Also, money management. We're looking at math there. You have to budget for what you're going to spend for shopping, also for paying the bills, even for the very own, the children paying their fare and their lunch money as well. They have to budget. How much do they have for fare? How much do they have to spend for lunch? Basically, mathematics play a role in our daily lives and leading up to our future, even academically as well. Now, with that, it brings me to an important point, the importance of mathematics in students' development. One, it provides an effective way of building mental discipline. As our children develop, mathematics helps them to understand the world and themselves. It encourages logical reasoning and mental rigor. It also helps them to understand concepts, not only in mathematics alone, but the other core areas, such as science, social studies, music, and even art. Now, parents, now that we know the importance of mathematics learning, let us look at some early math key concepts and the future, the impact these key concepts will have on the future. Now, I want you to take a moment and look at each of them. What I'm going to ask you to do as the key concepts comes up, you're going to type in the chat which of the impact it will have on future math learning. So first we see at A, where a child will be able to identify shapes, size, position, direction, movement, enable geometric skills. At B, a child will be able to make predictions, logical connections, and develop reasoning skills. At C, a child may be able to count, add, and subtract. Now, as the key concepts come up, you're going to type in the chat which one belongs with which. So, here's the first one. If a child learns number sense, it will help them to either A, B, or C. Type in the chat quickly for me. And we'll have Miss Dyer saying who is right, who has typed and the answers they have chosen. Getting
All right,
anything
so
in the
far,
chat?
Miss Julian has C, Miss Joy, Miss Grayson, Renardo, Miss Simone Mullins has C as well. Akela Mitchell has C as well. Miss Marlene Williams
Oh, so
has
it's C.
C. Michaela. All right, so everybody has C so far. Nobody has chosen A or B for this early concept to be connected to.
Okay, let's see if they are correct. Indeed, if a child learns number sense, it will help them to count, add, and subtract. Now, what about if a child learns pattern sense? What will it help them to do? Or if a child learns spatial sense, what will it help them to do? So we are left with two choices, A and B. So let's see. Let's see what's happening in the chat.
All right, so for pattern sense, persons are selecting A for pattern sense. Okay.
Everyone selecting A?
For pattern sense, yes.
All right, let's see if they are correct. Are we ready for the big reveal, parents? I am so sorry. If a child learns pattern sense so clearly, A has to do with spatial sense. A has to do with identifying shapes, size, position, direction, movement, and geometry skills. So when we talk about pattern sense, we're looking at being able to make predictions, that is telling what may come next, what may come next in the sequence, what may come next in this arrangement. They can make logical connections and develop reasoning skills. But I must commend you, parents. Good try. Good try. And let's see if we can have more persons participating in the next one. We still have another set to go. So the same thing applies. We have our early math key concepts, and we have the impact on future math learning. So once again, A is use past knowledge and logical thinking to solve new problems. B, make mathematical concepts real through objects, pictures, symbols, and words. C, find length, weight, temperature, and telling the time. So let's see which math key concepts would apply here. So the first one is, if a child learns measurement, it will help them to A, B, or C. Type your answers in the chat. Chat lighting up, Miss Dwyer?
Yes, it definitely is.
Okay.
I am seeing a lot of C. One person, Neymar, has B. Okay, I am seeing a mixture of B and C.
All right, parents. Let's see which is correct. This time it is C. So if a child learns measurement, it will help them to find the length, weight, temperature, and telling time. All right, let's look at this one. If a child learns problem solving, it will help them to. Or if a child learns representation, it will help them to. And now we have A or B again. Let's see which one will go with which. If a child learns problem solving, it will help them to.
All right, so Miss K. Francis says B for number 3, B for the third one, A for the second one. Miss Julian is also saying B for the third one. Natalia, B for the third one. Alicia, B. Yeah, so they're indicating which for which.
All
so
right.
most persons are saying B for the third and A for the second.
Okay, let's have our big reveal. All right, so we have persons who are correct. B for the third, which is if a child learns representation, it will help them to make mathematical concepts real through objects, pictures, symbols, and words. If a child learns problem solving, it will help them to use past knowledge and logical thinking to solve new problems. All right, parents, thank you. Thank you for your participation, and it's good to know that you guys are on the ball. All right, now, parents, has there ever been a time when you didn't like something? How difficult was it to learn it? Now, it's the same thing. This is our takeaway, the same thing with math. If a student develops, or in this case, if your child develops a dislike for the subject of mathematics, then they won't learn the subject. And so it is encouraged that a productive disposition or a productive attitude is developed by speaking positively about the subject. Even if you yourself didn't like it, or you couldn't do it, or you find it hard, what we're asking or what we are suggesting is, let us try to speak positive. Let us try to paint the subject in a positive light. And as a result, this will build confidence in the subject, knowledge, and ability to do the subject. Now that we know how it is that we have to be in terms of our attitude with our child or our children at home, and we sorry, pardon me, and we have also looked at the early concepts. We have also looked at the importance of mathematics. Then, can anyone say, or do you know what the 5 content strands in mathematics are? On the screen, we have 4 different sets. We have A, number, measurement, statistics, fractions, sets. B, geometry, shapes, number, decimals, and algebra. C, algebra, number, measurement, statistics, geometry. And D, measurement, fractions, decimals, statistics, and number. Now type quickly in the chat for me, giving you some time to think about it, and let's see who can tell me what the 5 content strands are in mathematics.
All right, so the chat is already lighting up. We have the first person to put their answer there is Miss Hope Coleman. Sorry, Miss Coleman. Hope Coleman, and she says C. Neymar Banner says A. Renardo C. Enef A. Simone Mullins C. K. Francis says C. I'm getting a mixture of C or A.
Or A.
Adija White says D. Julian says not sure, but it's a strong A or C.
All right. Should we give others time to respond? I wonder if anybody else still thinking, or if anybody wants to change their response.
Somebody type, Miss Patricia Palmer says all of them. So says all. So I think we can reveal what they are. Let us see how many persons selected a few of the correct words here as strands.
Okay. All right, parents. So the first of the 5 content strand is number. And we talk about number, and earlier on we alluded to counting, adding, subtraction, that sort of thing. How many of you chose the one with number? Let's see, you can check to see if you're on the ball with that. And you can tick off to say, all right, I have number in my choice. Let's go on to the second one, which is measurement. Do we have anybody feeling warm yet? So here we're looking at weighing. We have the scales, and earlier on again, if you can remember when we looked at the key concepts, we looked at the impact, it talked about weight, it talked about time, it talked about length. The third reveal is algebra. So we have anybody feeling hot yet? Where we're looking at patterning, we're looking at prediction, we're looking at all those things, the variables, that sort of thing, finding the unknown. And the fourth one, statistics and probability. So here again, picture says it, we're looking at graph, we're looking at representing, we're looking at prediction too, what may happen. And finally, the last one, geometry. where we're looking at measurement in terms of angles, and we're looking at shapes, we're looking at size and position. So congratulations to all the parents who really tried. And even though some of you may not have gotten all 5 correct, but what it tells me is that all of you were able to participate and you had some idea of what it is that your children are, the important strands that is needed for the development of mathematics. And so as we continue throughout this session, we're going to show you how important it is, or how it is that you can use these strands within your home. So now I'm going to hand over to Miss Dyer, who will take you through reinforcing mathematics at home. Miss Dyer, to you.
Yes, Miss. Thank you, Miss Johnson, for warming us up to this mathematics. Parents, we're now going to be looking at how we at home can reinforce mathematics for our children when they come home with the homework, when we ask them, what math topic are you doing? What are some things that we can do from home to strengthen their math knowledge with some basic things? All right. So now I'm going to be sharing my screen and we're going to get right into the meat of the matter. Okay, so what are some things found around your home? Basic objects that we interact with every day. What are some of these things and how do we use them, or how can we use them to reinforce mathematics topics? So we look at the home. Here I have a beautiful picture of a house, nice 2-floor, different objects inside of the house. And I'm going to start from the ground up. What are some basic shapes that we can identify inside of this house? Some basic shapes. All right, so I am seeing a little bit in the chat. Circles. Yes. What else is coming up, Miss Johnson?
Okay, Francis is saying square, rectangle. Francis, I'm seeing oval, I'm seeing circle, square, squares. Most persons are saying squares, rectangles, triangles, all those.
All right. Okay,
so the
well
chat
done.
is indeed lighting up.
Yes. So these are just, basic things that we interact with every day and we use with our children. They see them, they see the mirror on the wall, they see the tiles on the floor, the clock on the wall, the bed, the door, all of these things. What we need to do now is to look around us. We're in our homes. For those who are at home right now, look around you. What are some things? There's maths all around you. So what are some things that you are pointing out now that's coming obvious to you that you can help to reinforce your child with, right? So from a baby age coming right up teenage years, there are things that we can continue to reinforce at home. Now, when we look at shapes and patterns in our environment, we're in the festive season right now, right? It's Christmas. We're getting into the festive season. How many persons have a little Christmas tree? They're going to pull out of that box and get it decorated, right? What are some basic shapes and solids and figures that we're going to put on our Christmas tree? What type of solid does our Christmas tree represent? We have the star at the top. We have the Christmas ornaments that are spherical in shape, so maybe oval in shape. We have the bow that is on the Christmas tree. How do you tie a bow? It's strategically done. What is the length of the bow if you want a big bow or a small bow? What is the width? These are different things that we can interact with our children on a regular basis, on a daily basis. So in decorating your Christmas tree, you get them involved and you use some questioning technique to get them thinking and speaking about mathematics. Each and every day, you prepare their cereal, their porridge, their breakfast. You give them in different bowls, right? Bowls maybe of different sizes. These are things that you can reinforce with your child. We talk about spatial awareness. If you're making a little bit of cereal, would you need a big bowl or a small bowl, right? So these are things that we can work our children, get them to think mathematics, not only in the classroom space, but also in everyday activities, because many of them, parents, are only exposed to mathematics or the word mathematics or concepts in mathematics when they're inside the classroom in front of the teacher. Now, you want to develop that positive attitude towards mathematics, that productive disposition, positive attitude. So now, what are those concepts that I just mentioned and areas you may think it's for the smaller group? Now let us look at upper school. What are some concepts that we can reinforce at home for upper school? Because after the children learn about shapes and solids and so forth, what else can they learn about? What else can we help them with at home? So when you look at the grade 4 to 6 level and even early high school years, 7, 8, and 9, they look at the topic of area, which falls under measurement. Now, how can we reinforce learning area at home? Many of you, if you look at the ground right now in your homes, you have tiles on the floor, right? All of those tiles represent square units. Many of these tiles are in squares, right? They represent square units. If I count the tiles on the floor, it can tell me how many square units of that tile the floor measures. Now, notice I said square units. I did not use centimeter or meter or feet, right? I simply use the term square units, right? Which can be attributed to any unit of measurement. So if you look at the floor here, nicely numbered, the child may be measuring how many squares are in the room, the kitchen, the bathroom, and that is measuring the area of a room, right? So we're going to use this strategy, and I'm going to challenge you now, parents, to measure the area of a floor. So here on screen, we're going to measure. Here is the floor inside a room, and I want you to use that strategy to measure or to tell me how many square units this room would measure. So remember the hint, each tile represents 1 square unit. So how many square units of tile do I have in this room? All right, go ahead and put your answer in the chat.
All right, Kay Francis is on the ball. She's saying 36 square units. Renardo, 36 square units. Wow, chat is going fast, Miss Dial. NS 36, Alicia 36, Miss Weller 36, Palmer, Julian, Ruel, Galaxy A71, or everyone is saying 36. I'm seeing from one person is saying 40. But most persons are saying 36 square units.
Okay, and for the person who is saying 40, it's a nice rounded number, it's a nice estimate that we could use for the area of this room if we're asked to estimate. So parents, as you can see, there are 6 tiles in a row. And if we continue to count, and notice I didn't go into any formula for the area, I am simply counting tiles, right? So this is something that if the child doesn't get the formula or has problems multiplying, right? This is another strategy to find in the area, right? So one thing with mathematics, there are many different ways to solve a math problem. And we need to let the children know that there are many different ways and they can go right back to some basic things, as in just counting the tiles. So for those parents who said 36, excellent job, well done. I want you to see how you can use this strategy to just ask your child to count how many square units of tiles is inside their room or inside the kitchen, which room is bigger, which room is smaller. So you're bringing a little spatial awareness as well, right? So 36, the person who said 40, very good estimate. right? So if we were estimating, 40 would be a very good estimate. So parents, when we use different things at home, our gadgets, many of us, we can't leave home without the phone. It is so vital, it's so essential. It's our calendar, it's our timer, it's our mode of contact. It is something that is so, well used. But the main purpose of the phone is to call somebody, right? That was the general purpose of the phone. Now, when we look at calling a person, you have to select numbers in a particular order or pattern. And if you don't dial that number in that particular pattern, you're not going to get the person who you intended to call. Now, a simple strategy like that, teaching your child your phone number, the phone number of their mother or father, aunt, a big sister or a big brother, it's mathematics. You're teaching them a sequence of number that when dialed will get them the intended person, right? So you're getting them familiar with mathematics and with numbers and how numbers work in a pattern. So it's very essential that even with picking up their device, whether it is their tablet or their little cell phone, you impress on them, right, the positive attitude towards mathematics and allow them to see mathematics in every single thing that they do. So a specific number pattern dials a person number. One variation and you're going to get a wrong number, right? That's how important mathematics is. So let us look at some tips that we can use to just encourage and reinforce with our children. You parents have to be that positive person when it comes to mathematics. Remember earlier, Ms. Johnson said, you may not have liked the subject growing up. You may have thought that you couldn't do the subject. Earlier, parent responded in that manner. She didn't like the subject. She thought right now, some advanced areas, she knows she can't pass. But her daughter is showing like a mathematical genius right now. She's a budding mathematician. So we want you to foster that positive light in the child so that the child will always have the ability and not find the subject difficult, not perceive the subject to be difficult, right? Encourage creative problem solving. So they find different ways to come to the same answer. They find different ways to work the same concept, right? So when you look at traveling to school, for those persons who may drop their son or daughter to school, or they take a taxi, the taxi may have different routes which they drive in order to get to school. They may have to drop somebody first, so they take a different road and so forth. That's mathematics. You know that if the child is in the taxi, or if you and the child have to leave out in the morning, if you are in the car and you see the person turn onto that road to drop off somebody, you know you're going to get to work or to school a little bit later than you had intended to, right? Or if you see that they didn't turn off, yes, you're going to get there to drop them on time and get to work on time, right? So the distance that the car travels in the days, the time it takes to go to work, all of that is mathematics, right? And just have a conversation with the child in the car or while walking them to school. Just have a conversation with them that involves mathematics. So now, I have an activity for you. What are some things that you consider when you're going shopping? What are some things that you can talk with your children about when you're planning to go shopping? Christmas season is upon us. Month end is around the corner. You may need to go and do your little shopping, right? Special things for Christmas, the Christmas season. What are some things that you are going to consider, and what are some of the things that you can have a conversation with the child or children about in regards to shopping for the Christmas season? So go ahead, type in the chat. Yes, Ms.
Ashika said cost of items, order, budgeting, I see budgeting, NS, price of items, quantity of items. Mikhail is saying money budget, cost of items, quality of the items, You have to consider making a list. You have to look at if there is any sale. I'm seeing discount. Fashika, again, the amount of money you have to spend. Hope is saying quality versus price. Julian is saying must stay within the budget. No Burger King. Budgeting, how much I am going to spend, that sort of thing. So most
Okay.
persons in the chat, they're talking about priority items versus non-priority items. The
Very
importance
good.
of making a list and budgeting.
Okay, very good. All very good responses. And these are conversation parents that we need to have with the children. Don't think they're too young to understand budgeting and how money works, right? They will understand. Have that conversation with them. So some of the words that I had in mind as well: budgeting, the cost of the good, the number of items that you need, items that are on sale, or their items that are on discount. Right? So these are conversations that you involve the children on a daily basis. Involve them in conversation that has to do with shopping. Earlier, Miss Johnson mentioned lunch money, how much money they pay for their fare, collecting their change after they pay the taxi. They must have some money sense, right? So now, I want you to look at an activity that I have that involves shopping that you could simulate with your child or children. Now, we know when it's back to school time, you need to buy material, especially for the female students to get their uniforms made. So let us look at this scenario. You need to buy some cloth to make uniform for your child. The dressmaker told you to get 12 yards of material. No, at the store, the material is being sold for $169 per yard. No, this is a scenario that you could play out with your children. And you're not going to ask them to calculate exactly, You want them to estimate. So what is the least amount of money I can take to the store to get the 12 yards of material? So I am playing out the scenario with you, but I want you to put an answer in the chat. And while doing so, I want you to think about ways in which you can involve your child or children in conversations involving money at home. So what is the least amount? It's lighting up.
Yes.
All right, let's see what the answers are saying. Least amount.
2,100, 2,500, about $2,000, $2,050. That's from Bevin. K. Francis saying 2,100. Alicia and Patricia, $2,000. Fashika, 2,005, as well as Mikhail. Chana is saying $2,400.
Okay.
Marlene is saying at least 2,001. So most persons, Mrs. Parchment, Ruel, Samsung A115, yes. All of those persons around 2,500.
And that's a nice round estimate, that 2,000. Once you stay inside that 2,000 region, you don't go below. You're on a nice trajectory towards estimating how much you would need. So we don't want that exact figure, because we know when we go shopping, when we go to the supermarket, each time we go, some price is going to change. So we have to budget and we have to keep in mind that little extra that might be there. So we carry a nice estimated amount in order to do our shopping. Now, we need to encourage our children to think in that manner, right? And this will help them in their ability to do mathematics, because not all mathematics asks them to calculate exactly, right? Some functions of mathematics is also to approximate and to estimate, right? So you have them thinking along that line from early, and they will develop better number sense. So, parents, we looked at number sense a while ago and arithmetic sense, right? Now we're going to look at spatial sense. Here I have a nice black tank, a nice rhino tank. In the rainy season, this is nice to have to catch some nice rainwater. I know many persons have these type of tanks at home. I do. right? Now, this tank has a capacity of 650 gallons. That's how much this tank can hold, right? Another type of catchment that many of us have is this nice little drum, right? Many of us have it. You know, it's good for storage. And this drum, on it, it says it can hold 150 gallons of water. Now, let's have a conversation about these two catchment objects. When you look at these objects at home, do you have a conversation with your child or children? Which one holds more? Which one holds less? How much of this one would it take to fill that one? Let's look at that scenario. And this is something that you can test out with your children. So if I want to fill this black tank of water, and the truck comes and we have to fill up the blue drum first and load it into the black drum. Approximately, how many of the blue drums filled with water will it take to fill the black drum or the black tank of water? So play on these numbers and play on the amount and the size, and tell me how much of the blue drum will it take to fill the tank?
I see the chat lighting up, Miss Dyer. Chat is lighting up 4 1/3, 4 1/2. Person saying 5.5, 5 1/2, about 4, 4.25, 4 1/3. Some persons even go as far as say about 6.
Okay, nice. Yeah.
4, but most persons are saying 4 1/2, 4.5.
Okay. And I'm liking the fact that we're getting fractions and decimals, a nice mixture of answers.
4.5, whole number 4. Yeah.
So I believe we have the math parents online, you know. I believe these are the math parents, you know. Very good parents. I like the conversation. I like what's happening in the chat. So this is something, just a general question you can ask, you know. Rain is falling, the drums and the tanks are filling up with water. You can just ask your child or your children, no matter big or small, you know, just activate that spatial awareness about how much of this drum you think we would need to fill up that big black tank. You don't even have to know the amount of gallons that each or either of them hold. You know, just having that spatial awareness that it would take a certain number of the smaller one, definitely more than one, to fill the bigger container, right? So this is how general things that we buy and we have in the home using, right? We can initiate some mathematical conversation with our students, right? So this is how we can reinforce mathematics at home. And in reinforcing mathematics, we also have to build that interest in the subject, keep them interested, keeping them fascinated about numbers and how numbers work and how math is involved in everyday life. So now, building interest. This is where we're taking it. What are some things that you have at home that you can use to excite the children, get them excited about mathematics? I'm going to show you some things and I want you to put a thumbs up in the chat if you have any of these things at home. Anybody have these pretty things at home? Anybody have, if you have them up on the shelf, take them down, dust them off, right? We need the children to be aware of these things and come off the gadgets a little bit. Anybody have these at home? Any thumbs up, Miss Johnson?
Not thumbs up, they're responding yes.
All right, I'll take that too. I'll take that too.
Most persons are saying yes. Shaquane, K. Francis, yes.
All right.
The dice, yes, 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 yes. Coming up.
All right. Okay. So we have things at home. We use them often. I know that, you know, if you go to a 9-night, you're going to see dominoes being played. You know, you have your dice, you have your card packs and so forth. Get the students seeing mathematics with these general items, and there are a lot more that we can use to get our students interested. Measuring instruments.
Somebody mentioned Monopoly game as well, Miss Daya.
Are we gonna get to it? That's very good. I'm glad you mentioned it, right? The general pen and paper, right? Get them drawing and writing. So when we look at building interest in mathematics, we want to spark their interest through different things that we, as the parents, as the adults, we used to play with when we were younger. You know, we know the ropes, we know how to play the domino, we know several different card games, right? But our children nowadays, do they know about these card games? Do they know how to manipulate the domino, the dice, and all of these things? And other board games like our Ludi. What can we get from mathematics? How can Ludi help us with mathematics? You look at moving along the board, you have to be counting on. Because every time you roll that die, you have to know how much you get on the die, and you have to know to move a certain number of parts on the board, right? To get to your home ground. And you have to get all the men moving around on the board to get to that home ground, right? So that has to do with counting on. And remember, if we're playing the wicked Ludi, you know, when you buck up in somebody, you know, you knock them off. They have to go back and start back from the beginning. So, you know, that back and forward with number, backwards and forward movement, right? On the Ludi board, it's maths. We look at the Monopoly. Somebody mentioned it in the chat. Monopoly, money. As the game starts, you get a certain amount of money. We have the dice moving along the board as well, right? You're buying property, you're selling property, right? You're moving back and forward on the board. You're going to jail, you're staying in there for a period of time, you move out, all of these things. It's maths, right? So even if we do play these games with our children at home or with family members, when they come over, they play these games, we need the children to recognize that math is happening right there. This is mathematics. We're adding, we're subtracting, we're dealing with money, we're making change, we're buying property, we're budgeting. So when you look at a hotel for sale, you're going to look if you have enough money, right, to buy that property, or you have to pass it by, right? Yes, Miss Johnson, you're saying?
There are some things in the chat coming out, other things that may be used. Adisha White is saying the clock. Ruel to everyone talks about football. Julian says counting. Somebody mentioned Scrabble. Using the Scrabble, you have to total the points, so it teaches addition. Maths, the games teach them to be competitive, helps them to check the money, that sort of thing. They can also use food, so they're suggesting other things that may be used. Food, clock, all of those things.
Which is right, You're all correct. You're all correct. So we need to look beyond just the textbook, right? And the notes that teacher gives them at, in the classroom. We need to look beyond that. So everyday things that are in the home, and just spark that conversation with your child or your children and gear it towards mathematics. So we have other suggestions like our Go Fish teaches them matching and patterning, right? Games with money. Somebody said with the food items, board games, the dice teaches them to add and to count. These are things that we can do with the students to generate that math conversation within the home. So now, some other things that we can do is label things in the house. So label the house, turn the house into a mathematics house. When you look at the step, if you have a staircase, you can number it for the smaller ones, right? So as they step up, they're counting, and as they step down, they're counting backwards, right? For the bigger ones, you can label the door is rectangular, right? The fridge, right? Other things, the cupboard may be square, things that are triangular. You may have a design on the window and it's triangular. You label the things in the home. They are solids, cuboids, pyramids, oval, circle for those who are circular, sphere for those things that are like on the Christmas tree, you have those balls, spheres, label them. turn it into a mathematical adventure for them. So as they look around, all you need is a piece of cartridge paper and a marker, and you label them and you stick them up and you enlighten them. They are seeing mathematics all around them, right? When you open the door is open at a certain angle, right? These are things that you can do to spark the interest. And the Christmas tree come right back in again, right? This Christmas tree is the closest solid to the Christmas tree is the cone, right? So it's conical in shape. So we have all these things around us. That is mathematics in our everyday life. So we need to highlight it. We as the parents know it, you know, we see it and we know it, but we need to spark the interest in the children, right? So now, activity time for you. Let me see the domino genius online today. Let us see the domino genius. Let me see, come now. We have our dominoes out and we're going to be very strategic with our dominoes this afternoon. We're playing a game with our dominoes, but this domino game is a learning activity, right? And it can be done at any level. So ideally, this game is for grades 1 to 3, but it can be done at any level. So let us look what the game is all about. We're going to arrange the dominoes in a shape, and we're using a square. Now, the arrangement is where the math comes in a little bit deeper. So we have the square, which is a shape. And now, based on the shape and the arrangement, the spots on each side of the domino must add up to a certain amount, right? Now, for this game, we have 2 dominoes in, and we have spots, we have corners touching already. So I want you to type in the chat, what sum or what total are we trying to get for the other corners? So type that in the chat. Let us see if we're on the ball with this game. I want to understand how this game works. So we have 2 dominoes meeting at this corner here. What total are we working with? Where the 2 dominoes meet.
13 in the chat.
Look where the 2 dominoes meet. Right at the corner here.
All right, I'm seeing 7. Most persons are changing now to 7.
All right. So they get the drift of the game now. They get the drift of the game. All right. And you parents, if you're playing this game, you can come up with any sum at the corners, right? So it's your job to come up with the sum. Let's go. So we need a domino in the 2 blank spaces in order to ensure that we have the same amount in each of the corner. Where the 2 dominoes meet must add up to that 7. All right, so let's look at the dominoes that we have. So we have these 4 dominoes. Which one of these dominoes would we put in at number 1? Is it domino A, B, C, or D? We need to get that 7 in the corner. So we need to get 7 in this corner here. And we start off with 7 right here. So which domino would give me the 7 right here?
All right. I'm seeing K Francis saying B. The chat is lighting up. Wow. I'm seeing D. Boy, moving fast. Mostly D. Then I'm seeing B. Most persons are saying D.
Okay.
C is a choice, but D is the most common choice that's there.
All right.
2 persons are saying C. Some B in the chat. I'm seeing C, I'm seeing D, I'm seeing A.
All right, look, parents. So remember, you know, we get into 7. 5 plus 2 gives us 7. Same as 4 plus 3 gives us 7. So let's see if everybody gets on board now. We need to put in the last domino here at number 2. Which domino would connect to this dot and this dot to maintain that total of 7?
Boys, the chat is lighting up. Everybody's saying A. A right throughout. 1 or 2 persons are studying C, but most persons are going for A.
All right, which is right, which is correct. So if you look at the pattern now of the domino, if we add together all of the corners, we're getting the same sum, which is 7. So this is something that you can create, the child can create, and you play a game to get to that sum. You can make the sum greater or smaller, right, than the 7. It can be anything, right? So you come together and you play a game like this. So ideally, this game is for lower school, 1 to 3. Of course, if you're having a child that is struggling, right, or have some misconception, especially when it comes to adding, this is something that can stimulate their brain. They can see how different numbers or different set of numbers can add up to 7, right? So even at the 4 to 6, if your child is struggling or you know children who are struggling, you can spark their interest with games such as these, all right? So now, we're going to move into your relationship with the child. You have to build a good relationship with the child, not just educationally, but socially and emotionally, right? Because the child can know your feelings, you know. They know your feelings towards subjects, they know your feeling towards certain things. So that is why from the beginning of this presentation, we say productive disposition, which simply means have a positive attitude towards the subject, right? By doing this, you can encourage a child to learn more. So if you're unable to help them, you ask a friend, an older sibling, right? Maybe a retired teacher, a family member, somebody that can rub off some of the maths on them. While you may not be able to do the math or like the subject, you continue to foster that positive attitude and you seek additional support, right? Google, YouTube, the children have their devices, right? Most of them still have their devices intact. They can use these platforms to learn more about mathematics. Look for examples in the child's notebook, right? To help you to see how can I connect the topic that he or she is doing now to something at home. Look at the notes, see how you can make the connection and continue to encourage your child, right? From time to time, they may need to take a break, you know, take a break and go back again. Don't get frustrated. Just take a break and go back with some fresh eyes, right? So encourage that with your children. So as we continue to look at building interest, I have a dice game for you. And we're going to start from the lower level and we're going to come right up to the highest level with this dice game, right? So I have a dice game for you this afternoon. So now, are we ready? All right. So parents, let me know if you're seeing my screen.
No, we're not, Miss Dale.
Okay. All right, so get your dice brains activated. We're going to be playing a dice game this afternoon. And let me see who is good on the Ludi board, who know anything about dice. And we're starting from the lower level. So if your child is in grade 1, grade 2, or grade 3, They're just getting immersed in numbers and addition. We're going to play an addition game. And I am starting by using 2 dice. So as I spin the dice, game don't start yet, don't put anything in the chat as yet. Game don't start yet. Let me tell you the rules. We're going to be adding the amount that shows up on the dice as they are rolled. So I want you to put the answer in the chat. We're going to start off basic things that you can do with your grade 1, your grade 2. If your child is in grade 1, grade 2, this is something that you can do with them just to spark their interest. Are we ready? Let's go. Find the sum. Find the sum, add together.
So the chat is lighting up. I'm seeing 5. Most persons are saying 5.
All right.
Somebody has 14 in the chat. Most persons are at 5.
Let's try again.
Somebody with 6.
All right, we're going to speed it up. We're going to speed it up a little more. Add together, add together.
Right, 10 is coming up. 10 is in the chat. Somebody has 19. But most persons have 10 as their answer.
And make sure, parents, make sure you're looking at the number that is revealed at the top of the die. All right? Now we're going to spin. We're going to change up the activity a little bit. I'm using 2 dice. So this time I want you to create a 2-digit number using the values on each die. I want you to create the largest 2-digit number using the values on each die. Let's go. The largest 2-digit number. What would this number be?
All right, 62 is coming up. Most persons saying 62.
Let's try another one. Let's go again. Let's go again. Largest 2-digit number.
43 coming up. Yes, most persons are saying 43.
All right, let me up the ante a little bit. This time I am using 3 dice. And I want the largest 3-digit number.
Persons are on the ball. 432 is now coming up.
All right, let's try another one. Number. Largest 3-digit number.
$631.
All right, I'm going to spin it now. I want the smallest 3-digit number.
Yes, that's the common number in the
smallest.
Right, 166 is coming in the chat, and that's from everybody.
Let's go again. Smallest 3-digit number.
$114. That's what is in the chat.
114. All right. So we just use the die to do some addition. We just use the die to represent numbers in their smallest or greatest value based on the amounts that showed up on the die. Now we want to go into a little bit more arithmetic. And this time we're going to do some multiplication using the die. So the values that show up, you're going to multiply and put the product in the chat. What is the product? Multiply these 2 values.
All right, the chat is lighting up. I'm seeing 8 all the way.
All right, let's try again.
All the way.
Multiply.
Yes, they're on the ball. 20.
One more time. Multiply.
12. That's great. Most persons are on the 12.
All right. Now, parents, I'm going to put another spin, still using the die, and I'm going to go up a little further. Grades 4, 5, and 6, right? They learn a lot about fractions. A lot of fraction is done at the upper level of primary. Now, I'm going to spin the die. And for those parents who remember what are improper fractions, I want you to use the values on the 2 dice to create an improper fraction? What would that improper fraction be? Go ahead and type it in the chat.
3 halves is the answer. 3 halves. Most persons the chat is in 3 halves.
All right, let's try another one. Improper fraction again.
5 halves. 5 halves. Yes, that's a common fraction growth.
Let's try one more because we had 2 coming. We have the digit 2 coming twice. So let's try another one. All right, improper fraction. What are we getting, Miss Johnson?
The persons are writing. Most persons are saying 3 ones.
Okay. All right. Well done. Now, parents, this is how you can use the die in your everyday activity with your children. You can just get the die, right? And introduce it to them, right? And have them work with the die on a daily basis. Play a game with the die, right? So we are looking at how it is that you or we all can reinforce and spark the interest of mathematics within our home, right? And have our students play with mathematics, play with the die, use it, and have a field day, right? So just some basic activities like these, and we can have our children learning mathematics. So now, as we move on into our session and go a little bit further in wrapping up our session and what we have to share this afternoon, we are just basically saying, parents, it's very, very important that we have our students participate in activities that are geared towards mathematics. It's very important that we as parents be that person to shed a positive light on mathematics each and every day. So as we do so, we can use other things at home apart from the domino and the dice. We can use other things at home, such as jacks. Anybody remember jacks? My days, we played a lot of jacks. So it's played with the small rubber ball and the jacks. And this to teach them to group. So I remember playing jacks and we had to pick up a certain amount of jacks, throw up the ball and pick up a certain amount of jacks, or else you would be out of the game, right? So you had to learn to pick up in groups of 3, in groups of 2s, pick up all the jacks at once. So you had to be very strategic in how it is that you make those groups as you pick up the jacks. These are games that I no longer seen being played. These are things that can keep your children interested in math. Miss Johnson mentioned earlier, and a few parents mentioned playing shopping with your children. So even you have things in the cupboard, even at home, you can play shopping with them. Price tags are still on the items. You can spark a conversation with your child about mathematics. So appreciate mathematics. Show them that you think positively and speak positively about the subject, right? Encourage them to explain their thoughts, right? Use proper mathematical language. So if it's fractions, they know how to speak fraction language, right? If it's measurement, they're using their units, centimeters or inches, right? So foster that positive attitude for perseverance, right? For interest, keep them disciplined so they stick to their task. And all of this works together to have their children be a good problem solver and good critical thinker, right? So everything is combined. Can't leave it on the teacher alone to spark that interest, spark the interest at home as well. So set a routine for your child. help them with homework, let them do homework at a consistent time each afternoon. Homework first, gadgets later, or however you want to play around with their timing, but ensure that they have a consistent routine. Reward them when they do well at mathematics. So many of us perceive it to be a difficult subject. So when they do well, reward them and encourage them, right? So now, we also look at daily affirmations. Tell them they are good at what they're doing, right? They are positive. They are resilient. You may not get it right this time, but keep at it. Tell them to always try their best. Let them be always willing to try the subject or to try the concept or to try the math problem. And in saying and doing all of these, parents, we hope that we would have imparted some information on building mathematics competencies at home. So at this time, I open the floor. You can raise your hand if you have any question or feedback on the topic that we explored this afternoon, building mathematics competencies at home. If there are any question or feedback, just raise your hand so we can unmute you for a few seconds as we wrap up today's session. And as I'm taking those raised hand features as they're going up, I want to highlight our student sessions, which are coming up in starting November 28th to 30th, and then picking back up at December 5 to 8 with our grade 4 students. So please take a screenshot of what is on the screen here. Further details will be shared. So we have our student session coming up. All right, so I'm gonna allow Miss Christina.
Again, parents, I just want to thank you for allowing us to have this exercise done. I really appreciate it. It has been very informative and insightful. Things that we would know that we have in our homes and we possibly take for granted that we can use to enhance, especially mathematics in our homes. And earlier, I just wanted to make a point for some of us parents who find it difficult and we unfortunately pass that same attitude onto our child or children. Pardon the noise in my background. They're both playing with jacks. So it's a sad reality that for the parents who are unfortunate enough to pass the negative attitude of maths onto their child or children, it would be coming possibly from a teacher that would have put it on them. So for example, if that teacher would have seen that the child wasn't progressing as he or she should, or wasn't grasping the concept as the others were, then a little remark would have been made to say, oh, you're waste of time, or you're not, you know, the negative comments. I can say this because it would have been said to me in high school just before. And I can remember my math teacher saying to my mother, I wouldn't waste my money on her doing the subject because she's not even going to get a grade 4. Now, the morning of my math CXC, as a female, I had my female problems the night before. I had no pills. I was in a lot of pain. I was throwing up, and I still pushed and went to the exam. And I came out with a grade 3, having passed out 5 minutes before going in.
Well done.
So, for me, thank you. For me, but then I really just didn't care to say, because had I took it seriously, I may have been passing that same thing that she put in me to my daughter. I remember her at one point, because I was very outspoken, and I said to her, Miss, how simultaneous equation are going to help me in a life? I'm not going to need to do that to figure out my paycheck. I'm not going to need it to do the simple day-to-day things, because she was really stressing those things. And I think my note here is, I think teachers are stressing the wrong things in maths too early, and then we develop children hating the subject instead of liking the subject. So I don't know if it's something that the ministry can do going forward in regards to sensitizing teachers that Just make it fun from early. And as they're progressing through the grades, keep it fun. Don't make them feel like, oh, if you don't get this one thing, you're not going to be anything in life and you cannot do anything in life, because that's really not the case.
Okay, and we do take your point, Miss. So we have mathematics coaches that work through the schools to provide that guidance and that support for teachers so that the maths is interesting and it's fun for the students.
Yes.
So we have we could do it a few more, but we have coaches that are going around and providing that positive atmosphere as well for both teachers and students. So that is currently going, and I thank you for your response. I think we may have time for
You're welcome.
one more. Neymar, go ahead, Neymar Bano. Go ahead. Go ahead. Yes, Neymar, go ahead. Not ready? All right, while you prepare, let's take TCL10SE. Go ahead, your hand is raised. Go ahead.
Hi, good night.
Good night.
What I would like to say is that to the parents here, all that you had said, it works. I tried practically almost 95% of the things that you have said. And I have my 10-year-old daughter in grade 6, and she just turned 10 last month. And she's doing exceptionally well at a 92 average. These are most of the strategy that I use. And it really, really works. Yeah, so that's what I wanted to say.
Thank you. Thank you for backing us up. We've tried and proven. Thank you for that. Thank you for that. All right, we're gonna take one last person. Shaquin, you put back down your hand. All right. So
there are some comments in the chat as well, Miss Daya.
You can go ahead and read those for me, Miss Johnson.
I really appreciate this session. This is coming from K. Francis. Thank you so much. I have learned a lot of new ways to help. Galaxy J2 is saying, I appreciate this session. Thanks very much, ladies. We can do this more often at times. Thanks again. Julianne, thank you for taking the time out and sharing with us this evening. It was well received and appreciated. So we want to thank you, parents.
Yes, we want, because you took your time out to be here with us. That is true. So as I mentioned before, our grade 4 student webinars coming up November 28th to 30th, December 5 to 8. Tell a friend, pass on the information. The meeting ID and passcode are there. You can take that off, take a screenshot, and get your children and family members, your schools, make them aware of these sessions, and feel free to join as well. So as we close up this afternoon, we want to thank you once more, parents, for being a part of our session. Make sure to try these strategies at home, let them become a part of your everyday conversation with your students to promote and build mathematics interest and reinforce mathematics at home. We do need to see an increase in students' achievements right across the board, and mathematics plays such an important role in their overall development and everyday life. So thank you. Yes, Miss Johnson, go ahead.
There is one parent, she's saying that she joined late, so if there's any way that she could get it from the start, it's on the YouTube. It was on YouTube. So if you go on the Region 5 YouTube channel, you will have the recording presentation from the start.
Yes. So you can all go back and view. For those persons who are unable to make it this afternoon, you can share and pass on that information. So thanks once more, parents. We really enjoyed having you online this afternoon, and we hope that we will get your children out November 28 to 30 and December 5 to 8 for our grade 4 student webinars. Thank you.